now, though, for mind, body and soul. And this is where I get tips on how we can all improve our mental and physical well-being, because I want you to come away from the show feeling better than you did before. And joining me this morning is Leonora Langley, counsellor, teacher and author of the book Let the Souls of Our Children Sing. Hello, good afternoon. How are you?
Hi, Letitia. How are you?
I am good. Good. That's what we like to hear. I'm so glad to hear that you're having a great day. So, listen, let's start with your book, which was released last summer. So tell us all about it.
Okay. So ever since I was a very young girl, Letitia, I had a feeling I wanted to write a book like this to give children a voice when they sometimes don't have one. And when I was first in a school on my first teaching practice, I must have been about your age, I reckon, I was so taken with children's innocence, their sweetness. They seemed to be totally at the mercy of their teachers and their parents. And that's what really seeded the idea that I wanted to write this book. And it's taken a lifetime, really, to write, because it took me several decades later, actually, to put pen to paper.
But your books talk about the impact of social media, because you think that it's left children always searching for external validation.
I do. This cultural paradigm of social media definitely is a double-edged sword. On the positive side, I think it's given young people greater opportunities to develop and broaden their social skills. Like, I think it gives them more empathy, they express how they feel, they share similar interests with their friends. But I think on the whole that it has done a bit more harm than good. I don't think it could be healthy to spend more than 3 hours a day watching videos and looking at photos, which I think can affect their mood and almost encourage them to become intoxicated by the world of celebrity.
Yeah. Do you know what? I have to say, I completely understand. I'm not a child, but I've recently come off all forms of social media because I just find, like, you know, people use it for their work, people use it to, you know, showcase their lifestyle, and that's great for those people. But for some people, like myself, I find that it doesn't make me productive. And I've noticed in certain children as well, which actually I can massively agree with what you've said, in my experience of children within my family, when they have been sat there, say, for a few hours on social media, their attitude just towards either life or the way they then continue to behave changes drastically. And it's so odd, but I've witnessed it myself with children in my family. So I love that your book does mention and definitely goes into detail about the impact of this, because I think it's a very important message.
I couldn't agree with you more, Letitia. My greatest concern around this is that young people's addiction to social media places too much emphasis on external validation. I think we need to encourage our children to have a richer interior life, to get in touch with their internet, so maybe less internet and more internet. I just think that if they're going to have to go to social media, that they do need a break from it. Otherwise, they get overloaded. They sort of need to be encouraged to take a detox because it's so hyper-stimulating.
Oh, yeah, of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, moving forward as well, you know, you've worked as a counsellor for 15 years. So what are your top tips for improving our mental health?
It's an interesting question, and one that I've looked deeply into, obviously, in the book. The first half of the book is about parents as educators. I think that parents need to try, even though they're also on overload, I know, I do understand that, to try and be emotional anchors for their children. Otherwise, they can become rudderless. I think that they need to listen more, to reflect back what they're feeling more, because really it's all about what children feel just as much as about what they think. And now in schools, the emphasis is so much on exams, it's almost become like an exam factory, that again, I feel there's too much emphasis on cognition and logic, which is all left brain stuff, instead of nurturing their creativity, their imagination, the ability to dream, doesn't really get much opportunity to express itself within mainstream education.
Do you know what? I'm loving talking to you right now, and I know there's a lot of parents that will be also sitting and probably taking notes. I can
I'm so pleased
right now. But you've also...
I knew that I was going to get on with you, Letitia. When I heard you singing "Stay With Me" on The Voice...
Oh, God.
I was so moved. It was such an extraordinary performance.
Oh,
and of course, to be able to sing like that, you have to be in touch with your soul, don't you?
They do say that when I sing, even from childhood, that I've always had the comment of you sing like with such emotion that like as a child, that an adult shouldn't, like a child my age at that time shouldn't feel. They were like, we don't know what it is about you, but there's something inside you as a child that you feel things so deeply, and it's because I'm an empath. I think that's what it is. But yeah, I have been told that I'm a very soulful, emotional singer. Apparently, I portray that through music.
Well, I think all children need to be allowed to be creative, to bring out their innate creativity, their curiosity, their imagination. I was given a book by my son when he was quite young called The Soul Bird. And I'd just like to read you a little bit from it. It's so amazing.
Go for it.
Deep down inside lives the soul. No one has ever seen it, but we all know it's there. Never, never has a person been born who didn't have a soul. It sparks the moment we're born and never leaves us, not even once, for as long as we live. It's like the air that people breathe from the moment they're born until the time they die.
Wow. That's deep, you know. That is deep.
Well, it is, but it's a children's book. And I think we need to instill these kind of messages into our children from a very early age. They're much more intelligent than we give them credit for, I think, Letitia. You know, they might be smaller than us. They're smaller than us, and sometimes we deny them their feelings because of their physical stature, because they're tiny. But they have the propensity to feel just as much, I think sometimes even more than us.
Do you know what? I hear that. I hear that with every part of my being. Now, Laura, stay right there, please, because I want to continue this conversation, but we're going to a track very, very quickly. Duke, Stevie Wonder here on BBC Radio WM. We're still talking Mind, Body and Soul this afternoon, and I'm joined by an incredible woman. And on the show today, it's Leonora Langley, who's a counsellor, teacher and an author of the book, Let the Souls of Our Children Sing. And already I am massively engrossed in our conversation. But I must highlight that, you know, Leonora, you've had an incredible career because you've worked as an international journalist based in LA for several years, and I'm sure that was an absolutely incredible experience. But you've also been a teacher for 30 years as well. I mean, what changes are you calling for to education to help improve the well-being of children?
It's an incredible experience being in LA. You're quite right. I loved my life as a journalist, Letitia. But the very depth of my soul, I'm really interested in helping society and helping especially young children to live a more authentic, happy life. So it was a wonderful period in my life doing the journalism, and I met some incredible people and interviewed, obviously, some superstars. But that wasn't really my motivation. I'm very interested in the human condition and what makes people tick. So that's what attracted me to the whole environment and to the challenge of it. But you can be equally challenged in a classroom. I mean, it's such an amazing gift and privilege to teach young children as they make those first steps in their lives. The way that we speak to our children, the way we communicate with them, every single thing that we say to them, they absorb like blotting paper. And sometimes I think we forget that. Life can be very mundane, especially since the pandemic. It's caused so much stress, depression, and anxiety for people. It's almost as if we've been confined, as if in a chrysalis. But I don't believe the pandemic has created a mental health crisis out of nowhere. I think it's been around for several decades, and it just was kind of a wake-up call.
A bit of a highlight, would you say?
A highlight. It highlighted what's been going on for decades, and it's almost like we've turned a blind eye to the escalating problem of children's mental health.
Of course. And I guess when you think about it, it's like we move around before the pandemic, we were moving around life so busy all the time. Nobody really took that time to consider. And then when it came to the pandemic, it was like you had nowhere you could go. There was nothing really that you could do. So you only had time to really sit with your thoughts, with your children, and you start to, I know a lot of homes that have completely, in terms of the family, like they've revamped the way they live now, because they're like, do you know what? We've seen the changes we need to make because we've been together in this bubble for 2 years, and we're realizing the way we've been maintaining life before this part wasn't healthy.
Definitely. It's so well put. I think that we've now been given a real opportunity to reassess and reset some of these traditional protocols, including the way we parent and teach our children. It's such a growing concern that I think it's reached epidemic proportions. We've got 1 in 6 children suffering from an identifiable mental health issue, and 12.3% have a special need.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So during my 30 years as a teacher and 15 as a counsellor, Letitia, I think we've now reached a point where nearly all children have a special need to a greater or lesser degree.
Do you know what? That's interesting. That's a very interesting comment to make. Very interesting, Leonora. And I wish I had the time to even delve into that, because I'm sure I want to get you back on, because I feel we haven't had enough time, and that really upsets me. But just before I do let you go, but can you promise me that you'll come back and speak to me again?
I would love to come back and speak to you. It's such a far-reaching subject. There's no way we can condense it into a few minutes, is it, really?
No, not at all. Not at all.
It's such an important subject.
1,000%, which is why we're definitely going to revisit this, and I will be giving you a call. But before I let you go, if people want to find out more about you or check out your book, Let the Souls of Our Children Sing, where do they go?
It's available, my book, in paperback from all good bookshops, paperback and ebook from my publishers Austin Macaulay and Amazon, at a very reasonable price, as I wanted to make it available to everyone. And you can hear my radio interviews on a wide range of subjects covered in my book. They're all available to listen to on Facebook and YouTube.
Incredible stuff. Leonora, thank you so much for coming on and taking the time. And I cannot wait to catch up with you again. The fabulous Leonora Langley there, counsellor, teacher, all-round queen, and author of the book, Let the Souls of Our Children Sing. Again, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on.